Let's raise the big questions right at the very top tonight. Can the Modi government, the central government, now claim vindication as a result of what the Supreme Court has said, that there is no conclusive evidence of Pegasus being found on phones? Is the centre, though, hiding the Pegasus truth by not cooperating with the centre? Has the opposition failed to hold the government accountable on this issue? Citizens' right to privacy, is it under threat? And will the Pegasus truth ever really come out? Some of the questions that we'll raise tonight. Joining me now is M.K. Venu, senior journalist with The Wire. His phone was among those that was allegedly infected with Pegasus. Syed Zafar Islam is the BJP's former MP and spokesperson. Swati Malik, Congress spokesperson and advocate. Vivek Sood is senior advocate at the Supreme Court. And Apar Gupta is executive director, Internet Freedom Foundation, both a lawyer and a technology activist. Appreciate all of you joining us. I want to come to you, Mr. Venu, first, because the fact is you were among those allegedly whose phone was infected by the Pegasus spyware. Now, over 150 people allegedly were the target of Pegasus last year. 29 only submitted their phones, and according to the Supreme Court ordered probe, only 5 were found with malware, which is not conclusively Pegasus. How do you respond to this? Is this in a sense suggesting that for all the hue and cry, the reality is very different? No conclusive evidence of Pegasus found.
So Rajdeep, two things, look at the full report because one would want to see the exact deposition made by various technical experts. There were technical experts who submitted before the committee who clearly provided evidence that Pegasus malware was spyware was found on certain phones. Then there was another Rajdeep expert who's India's probably one of India's foremost experts on cyber issues, cyber security issues. His name is Sandeep Shukla, professor, IIT Kanpur, very highly regarded man, also on many government committees. He had clearly said before the committee, and he submitted, that phones tested after such a lapse of time may not show traces of the Pegasus spyware. So, Rajdeep, just remember, like every process in our country, this was so slow that it took nearly a full year before the phones were examined by a proper committee.
Did you submit
in other countries?
Did you submit your phone?
Yeah. Hello?
Did you submit your phone?
Yeah. No, from the Wire, Siddharth Vadrajan, my colleague, submitted the phone, and we thought that one person submitting the phone was enough. And Sushant Shukla, who is otherwise associated with our group, he had also submitted his phone. But Rajiv, the point I'm making is the French government had responded last year itself, and they confirmed the amnesty text findings that some journalists their phones had Pegasus traces. So this government's intention, official intention, was never to immediately act. And I'm surprised, Rajdeep, that Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad is on your show and saying that, oh, it's a clean sheet for the government. Whereas it was Ravi Shankar Prasad who made a statement in Parliament in 2019 admitting that in 2019 Pegasus had, had infected WhatsApp, many people's WhatsApps. And this government wrote to WhatsApp about Pegasus. WhatsApp replied to them saying, yes, Pegasus had been used in some of the WhatsApp, those names are there. Now, that means this government knows that Pegasus was being used in India. Now, why, if it is so concerned about national security, why didn't they show alacrity and urgency last year itself too?
So you're saying your main concern is the lack of urgency, the lack of transparency, and the big gap between the time at which it was revealed by Amnesty that these particular phones were infected by Pegasus and the government actually appointing, or the Supreme Court eventually appointing a committee to probe into the matter. And that long period of time could well have been enough for those phones not to be infected. Let me bring in Apar Gupta. I'm going to come to the politicians last. Let's first get in those who've in some way or the other tracked it as experts. Apar Gupta,
Yes.
do you agree with what M.K. Venu is saying? That unlike France, which showed urgency in trying to find out whether Pegasus had infected phones, India took its own time, and the government of India repeatedly, both in Parliament and before the Supreme Court, said that for reasons of national security, we cannot reveal whether we have actually hired the Pegasus software. Do you believe that the government of India was economical with the truth there?
The government of India has been evasive on any response at the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha, and even before the court. In fact, when the Supreme Court constituted this inquiry commission, it noted that the submissions of the Solicitor General, who was appearing for the government before the court, was evasive, it was generalized, and there was a routine reference to national security. One important point, Rajdeep, I want to emphasize. A lot of media conversation is happening today on the basis of oral remarks which are made by the learned Chief Justice Court. We do not have benefit of the written order of today's proceedings. I anticipate it will be made available tomorrow. So we will know what is actually being revealed in public, and also the contents of the inquiry, of the report of the inquiry commission itself. Neither of the parts have been made public yet.
No, but Apar, let me clarify. Chief Justice Ramanna today said it is unlikely that the entire report will be made public. Even the technical committee's report is unlikely to be made public. Does that mean that we will never know the truth?
Well, if we go by the court's own standard, again I make reference to the order when the Commission of Inquiry was constituted. The court itself said, and I quote, because there are two reasons why it says there are certain parts we may not make it public. The first part, this is because it may concern national security. Here the court has said, and I start in quotes, national security cannot be a bugbear that the judiciary shies away from by virtue of its mere mentioning. Mere invocation of national security by the state does not render the court a mute spectator. So every redaction or restriction in disclosure will need to be reasoned. The second thing which I need to point out is that the reason which is provided by the Commission of Inquiry not to reveal the report does not stand muster. If you go to the website of the Commission of Inquiry, which is Pegasus Investigation India, their testimonies of the victims who have appeared are actually recorded on Zoom calls and made available, about 8 to 10 of them.
Right.
Secondly, even witnesses and victims are asking that please don't reveal information regarding our testimony by itself. That part can be redacted. The technical basis, the methodology which has been arrived for the malware being found will in fact not harm national security or the victims. So I would hope that public disclosure is made, because it's a relevant public issue, and it's not...
So you're saying only at that stage, when that full report in a sense is made available, will we know the reasons why the court has said what it has said today. Mr.
It's
Sood,
premature right now.
It's premature. Mr. Sood, you want to respond? The court itself had its limitations. If a Supreme Court appointed committee, the government of the day says, look, we are not going to appear before you, we are not going to provide you details with whom we have had a contract based on national security. Do you believe that severely limited what has happened? At the end of the day, 1 year later, we seem none the wiser.
In my view, the government not cooperating with the panel only amounts to a denial of the allegation that we are not parties to this. So that's it. But see, the panel was independently formed at the instance of the Supreme Court, and whoever alleges a fact must prove that fact. So the government was really not, there was no onus on the government to cooperate with the committee. So non-cooperation with the committee amounts to a denial.
So you're saying,
and the panel has come to a
those,
conclusion.
Are you saying that it was up to
analysis?
No, Mr. Sood, are you saying it was
not
up to those
responsible? There is no evidence.
But are you saying therefore it was up to those who claimed that their phones were infected with Pegasus to prove it?
No, not really. I would not put the onus on the victims, but definitely when the panel was there and the panel was assisted by technical experts. So the technical experts had all the wherewithal to find out the truth. But ultimately nothing has come out. So in my view, you know, see, the government was in the dock. Now to expect the government to cooperate with such an inquiry, I think the government has done the right thing by non-cooperation, and non-cooperation ultimately amounts to a denial.
Okay, so non-cooperation ultimately amounts to a denial.
Why will the government go ahead and admit to some allegations like that?
I take your point, Mr. Sood. Let's just listen in before I come to the politicians why this issue had created such a storm. Remember last year, public memory is short, so let's rewind to last year. The entire monsoon session of Parliament was blocked over this issue. Rahul Gandhi claimed this was an example of Rashtradrah, of treason, and the government said that Rahul Gandhi and others now need to apologize. Listen in to what happened a year ago, and then I'll come to my political guests. Listen in.
Publisher of the report states that it cannot say if the numbers in the published list were under surveillance. Second, the company whose technology was allegedly used has denied these claims outrightly. The press reports of 18 July 2021 also appear to be an attempt to malign the Indian democracy and its well-established institutions. When you apply Pegasus on an Indian politician, when the Prime Minister personally goes to Israel and authorizes the use of Pegasus in India, he is attacking the people of Tamil Nadu, he is attacking the people of Assam, he is attacking the people of Kerala, he is attacking the people of Bengal. A particular organization has captured the institutional framework of the country and is attacking the voice of the different states of this country.
Swati Malik, a year later, is the opposition going to apologize? The government wants it to apologize because they claim that no Pegasus has been found. How can you accuse us then of treason? Congress, Rahul Gandhi must apologize.
Rajdeep, it is the government that should actually be apologizing first to the Supreme Court, then to the committee, and then to the people for not cooperating with the committee appointed by the Supreme Court, by the Apex Court. There are three things I want to say here, Rajdeep. First of all, this shows again that Centre has no respect whatsoever for the Apex Court, for the rule of law, nothing. Here's the committee appointed by the Supreme Court. And what do? They do not join, they do not cooperate, as it came out in the court today. Now, we don't have the order, like Apar said very fairly, and we don't have the report. So instead of going on, we'll just go by what was orally said in the court today. But not cooperating does not mean not only disrespect to the court, it also means admission of guilt. They did not cooperate because they knew that what has been found as inconclusive evidence of presence of Pegasus is actually also inconclusive evidence of absence of Pegasus. Please understand that. So today when we say that it's not clear whether it was Pegasus or not, well, it does not really also either say that it is sure that it was not Pegasus. It has left a little doubt.
No, Miss Malik, what the government of India is also saying is that for reasons of national security, because of national security reasons, we can't provide it. That's what they are claiming. That this is not about us being defensive, but this is national security. Nowhere, according to the government of India, nowhere in the world do you reveal whether you have provided, whether you are engaged in certain intelligence activities. You cannot provide that in the public domain.
Rajdeep, but they could have provided in a sealed cover to the committee. I'm not saying make it public. I'm not saying make whatever documents you are submitting to the committee public. But at least to the committee it could have provided. There's so many factors which can come in. There's so many procedures which can come in to maintain privacy. It's little absurd to even believe this kind of argument raised by the government. So to say that because it is privacy, it is secret, national privacy, national security reasons, we will not provide, will not cooperate. Is that the kind of arrogance we are looking at or even acknowledging from the government today?
Okay, let Zafar Islam respond. Zafar Islam, you know, here we are 1 year later. The Supreme Court, on the day before the Chief Justice is to retire, says, look, This is the probe report. The report is not yet public. But according to the Chief Justice in open court, he said government did not cooperate. He mentioned that specifically, that the government did not cooperate. Now, why would a government not wish to cooperate with a committee appointed by the Supreme Court that was conducting its hearings closed door? What is it that the government wanted to hide, if anything at all?
Well, Rajdeep, today, truth is out in open. It was clearly a manufactured allegation. It was a concocted story. It was primarily to target the government. It was primarily to discredit the government and also give a bad name to the country. It was all planned way. The Congress and some of the other opposition party had initiated this kind of allegation just on the eve of the monsoon session.
But it wasn't done by the Congress.
They wanted to disrupt the parliament.
Islam, a correction. It was done by Amnesty. Amnesty globally in several countries reported Pegasus. Why single out the Congress? Across the world, Amnesty reported that several phones of people across the world had been infected with this spyware.
Say, Rajdeep, the provider of the software, NSO, they have very clearly stated that they are providing to Western world. So they have not given any indication or comfort that it has been provided to India. The government stand was very clear that it's all attempt by the opposition parties to discredit the government and give a bad name to the country. Secondly, what is more important, today they have fallen flat. When you heard Venu, he was looking for an exit route. That it primarily because of the lack of time. The phone was checked after a year or so. Because of lag, the software may not be available. Let me tell you very candidly that the government stand was from day one that these are all concocted story, malicious, and only to give a bad name to the country. There was no truth in it.
You are saying, so why does, okay, sir, just a minute. If you are saying it's a concocted story, sir, just a minute, sir. Sir, just a minute. Zafar Islam Bhai, if you are saying it's a concocted story, why doesn't the government, and it didn't even do this on Parliament, say very clearly, we have no contract with a company called Pegasus? The government could have said that. The government could have said it explicitly, we have no contract with an Israeli company called Pegasus. The government did not say that. The government has never said that. That's the problem.
I think you should recollect the incident, Rajdeep, what had happened when the Honorable IT Minister, when he was trying to make the statement, the paper was snatched from his hand and it was torn into pieces. Don't you recollect that?
Yes.
What was that? It was an attempt because he was making a statement and he was denied to make the statement on the floor of the parliament, and I was there. I witnessed everything. How desperate the opposition was to ensure that he should not speak on the floor of the parliament.
The IT minister, sir, till this date has never said,
phones were there.
Are you categorically telling me, sir, that the government of India had no contract with Pegasus? Are you categorically saying that?
Yeah, let him answer that.
See, whatever had to be spoken, that has been spoken.
That's not an answer
to the committee. It is unfair on my part. It is unfair on my part to reveal what has been spoken, what has not been spoken. But what the comment has come and by the Honorable Supreme Court is something for everyone to see.
Okay.
And eyes have opened that the opposition parties and particularly some of the prominent citizens were targeting the government because government is doing exceedingly well and they have nothing to
okay, so serious.
There is a complete bankruptcy of issues. So they concocted a story, the manufactured.
This was a concocted story. Okay, you made your point. Zafar Bhai, you made your point. MK Venu, serious charge being made against you and others that you all concocted this story. This is a concocted story. You have zero proof of Pegasus. Therefore, you must apologize among others.
Rajdeep, I want to say this. I also tweeted this many months ago when Parliament was in session. The world has accepted Other democracies have accepted, US government has accepted that Pegasus was indeed used. German government has accepted Pegasus use. French government has accepted. United Kingdom has accepted. Even the Israeli government has accepted and taken action. India is the only country which is in consistently been in denial. Now, I'm not saying that the government has used Pegasus. What I'm saying is, why can't the government at least give one affidavit to the Supreme Court or to the committee saying we don't own Pegasus? That's a simple question we're asking. And the Supreme Court Chief Justice also observed.
Can I just respond to this?
So why can't just you say that we don't own Pegasus? I tell you why they don't do it, Rajdeep. Because it's there in the files. If not today, after 3 years, those files will be examined by some new government, and they will be exposed. They never want to put it on record either before the committee or before the Supreme Court that they actually.
No, that will only happen if there is, Mr. Venu, that will only happen if there is a new government. Otherwise, this is not going to change. But you want to respond, Zafar Islam, because the fact is, just put out an affidavit. We have no contract with an Israeli company called Pegasus. Is saying that an issue of national security? Why is it that Ajit Doval, National Security Advisor, cannot come before a Supreme Court committee and say that? Simple, finished.
See, Rajdeep, there is no point now again putting government in the dock. Government has given, it has made its stand very clear, and government stand is known to the committee and the Supreme Court. But let me tell you one thing, and let me ask a counter question to all the panelists and to you particularly, and Menu, that they had 29 phones. Those phones were examined and being monitored by the committee and the Supreme Court. So had there been some software like Pegasus, it would have known to the committee members and to everyone.
Apar Gupta, is that right? Apar Gupta, is that right? What Zafar Islam is saying? That 29 phones were given to the Supreme Court. Just a minute. 29 phones were given to the Supreme Court. Only 5, according to the statement made by the justices today, were found to have this malware. Do you believe that is sufficient to suggest that perhaps this story is exaggerated? Where do you stand? I know you're saying that you want to see the technical committee report before you can make a conclusive statement on it. But prima facie, what does it suggest?
Rajdeep, let me also inform on the basis of what actually happened in terms of submission of the phones. So I work at the Internet Freedom Foundation, and we have represented Rupesh, who was one of the people who filed a petition in the Supreme Court and also gave his phone for examination. So an image copy was taken and then it was studied. There was one testimony. Beyond that, him as a victim and us as lawyers, and I have permission to make this disclosure, we have not been kept involved with the methodology which has been adopted by this technical committee. Until that is made available, the nature of the malware, even in those 5 phones, it may be just a torchlight which is gathering more data, or it may also be a new form of Pegasus. And if so, as a malware maker was not only making Pegasus, it was making 10 to 20 different types of targeted spyware which was for sale to governments all over the world. It is not only about this. It may be any other thing. So we need that report. The second point, there was some discussion that the government can have a choice of not cooperating with the commission, etc. If we just look at the order which was passed by the Supreme Court on October 27th, at point number 5, it says the Respondent Union of India and all state governments as well as agencies, authorities under them are directed to extend full facilities, including providing support with respect to infrastructure needs, manpower, finances, or any other matter as may be required by the committee or the overseeing former judge to effectively and expeditiously carry out the task assigned to them by this court. So I don't really understand how the government can have a choice not to cooperate with this committee itself. In fact, I would wonder if it wants to clear its name, why would it not actually participate in these proceedings?
You know, that it's coming back to that. You know, we are the government of India.
Can I just respond?
Sir, government of India will not appear even before a Supreme Court committee. I mean, you don't seem to have a faith even in the Supreme Court of the country, is the conclusion some would reach to. That you fear a Supreme Court. Do you fear it? Why didn't you appear? Why didn't any single government official appear before this committee?
I think, Rajiv, when you have an agenda which is away from the truth, then you will keep dragging this issue. The issue is settled.
How is it settled?
There is absolutely no headroom for anyone to drag this issue any further. There was no.
If I don't appear before a
Whatever the
committee,
allegation has
if
been
I
made by
don't
the
appear
opposition
before a
parties,
committee, my
they
denial
are
is enough
dragging
to
the
say.
issues because they know they have fallen flat on their false claims.
No. There's no falling flat. It's rather the government which has fallen flat, and that is the reason they've not cooperated. They've not joined. They avoided. Look at the evasive behavior, Raj.
It's a
No,
vindication of the government. The observation made by the Supreme Court is a
Tomorrow's
vindication of the
headlines.
government.
1 minute, sir. Tomorrow morning's headline, Swati Malik, will be that the government Pegasus, no conclusive evidence of Pegasus. That's going to be the headline. So in that sense, the government will say Pegasus is over, no longer an issue.
Rajdeep, can I say something?
1 minute. Let Swati respond first.
Absolutely. See, that is the confusion that has been created. Please understand, when it says that there is no conclusive evidence of Pegasus being present, that also means it's not conclusive whether it's absent. It does not, there is no finding that there is no Pegasus. It only says not sure. It cannot be confirmed. It is not certain whether it is
Why did your leader Rahul Gandhi not provide his phone? Why did Rahul Gandhi choose not to provide his phone?
Well, the necessary phones were provided. Everybody does not need to provide.
No, why did he provide it?
Phones were provided. It is not that the Congress party shied away from providing phones. We did provide.
False claim.
No.
There's no false claims.
No.
I just want to ask one question.
That only suggests, Rajdeep.
No, just let her finish. Let her finish. Yes.
Opposition party, particularly Congress, has been completely exposed.
Yes. What is your question, ma'am?
One question. First of all, when it came to debating in the parliament, as far as Pegasus was concerned, they were not open to debate. Then finally it goes to Supreme Court. They were not cooperating in the Supreme Court also. And then when committee is formed, they are not cooperating in the committee either. So why are they shying away? Why are they so evasive when it comes to Pegasus? Just cooperate and clear your name.
I'll give you one final chance, Syed Zafar Islam. First, before the Supreme Court, the government said, we'll appoint our own committee. Supreme Court said, no, you will not. We will have our own independent committee. You don't appear before an independent committee. What's the message? Today you are smiling, saying all is well, we have been cleared. How have you been cleared when you don't even appear before the committee?
Rajiv, committee has been empowered. They had the resources. They have been monitored by the Supreme Court judge, and they had the phones available with them. They had everything, expert committee, technical experts, everyone was there. But they all found that it was a malicious attempt by the opposition parties, and that's why I'm saying that it is done and dusted. This issue needs to be put into
Okay, so you're saying this issue is done and dusted. The word malicious, sir, has not been, as far as we know, that word malicious has not been used. That's your word, but I will give M.K. Venu a final word. Is it done and dusted? Is it all over now? Should we forget it and move on?
Rajiv, I am willing to give a written apology to Zafar Islam, my friend.
Yes.
If the government gives an affidavit, even now to the Supreme Court, saying we do not own Pegasus, please give an affidavit. I will issue a public apology on behalf of the wire.
You will issue a public apology if the government gives an affidavit to say that they did not contract Pegasus. Am I correct? Let me reiterate that.
That they do not own Pegasus. They do not have Pegasus in their possession.
When you, Rajiv, when you stand completely exposed, then you have no other recourse. You will be forced to make this kind of a statement because you know there's no other way you can defend yourself.
Okay.
That is what being demonstrated by my friend Venu.
You know, Vivek Sood, as a final word, as a lawyer, where does this leave the right to privacy?
I'd like to add a word or two.
Yes, please do. Please add a final word to me.
Yes, in my view, the government had the right of silence. The right to deny is a fundamental right. And secondly, to make a statement that whether they had Pegasus or not itself has ramifications on national security. So the government, in my view, has correctly chosen to stay away from the committee.
Then why US has admitted, Germany has admitted, don't they have national security concerns?
Okay. So you're
NSO
saying...
has also said that Western countries have bought from them.
Okay, let in a way, as I said, there is one simple point that I think needs to be made. The government of India decided that it will not appear before a Supreme Court appointed committee saying national security considerations are involved. Could the government not have given that affidavit, which Venu spoke about, simply saying that we have no contractual dealings at any stage with Pegasus? Until that comes out, there will be a suspicion that the government has something to hide. At the same time, did the opposition jump the gun, as some are suggesting? Well, that too will be a question blowing in the wind. Either way, you better watch out, because that spyware could be at a phone near you at this moment as we speak. So please be careful. Somebody, big brother could be watching. Thank you all very much for joining me though on the news today.